Ladies and gentlemen, that intro is so good that we had to play it twice. That's how good it is. And the content of today is also going to be so good is that eventually we're going to upload it on YouTube so that we can really learn from Brian Fink. But before I introduce and get Brian on stage, let me introduce myself. I am Adrian. I am the co-founder and CEO of Matcher, and I will be your host for the second session of the Art of Recruitment 2025, our new webinar series where every month we invite an expert to talk about a topic that is related to the art of recruitment. Before we dive in and I get Brian on stage, let me tell you, if you don't know already, what we do with Matcher. Because with Matcher, we are a global embedded RPO company, whereby our sourcers, coordinators, and recruiters work fully embedded into client teams of companies like TikTok, Booking, Stripe, Deal, Lyft, Bolt, Grammarly, but also Eneco, Action, and Heineken. So if you're ever in need of any flexible sourcing, coordination, or recruitment support, please reach out to us. We would love to get in touch with you and see if we can help and support you. Secondly, we're also growing. Things are going really well. So please have a look on our career page if you would be interested to work at the best company in the world. Might be a little biased, but that's how I truly feel. So without further ado, let's bring on today's guest, Brian Fink.
What's going on, party people? What's going on, party people? I'm excited to be here. Thank you for making this happen, Adrian. As we were kind of talking in the pregame, if this is your first time tuning in and you're just learning from Adrian for the first time, you need to know that he supports an army of recruiters globally to go out and find the very best talent. And this is one of the ways that he gives back to the community. So I want to say thank you for the opportunity that you're giving me today to stand on your shoulders.
Amazing.
About standing on shoulders. None of this would be possible without Andrew. Andrew is the marketing technical guru behind the scenes. And we can't get started without giving him a big hell yeah and saying, let's go. Because Adrian's great, right? Awesome company, awesome leader, awesome product, awesome candidate experience. But without Andrew, he's got nothing. So let's give it up for Andrew in the chat real quick. About the chat, Andrew's going to be monitoring that. Adrian's going to be monitoring that. I can't see that because I'm flying blind today. I'm only with one monitor, right? So without any further ado, let's get into GPTs versus the Google CSE smarter sourcing for recruiters.
I love it. Brian, I'm going to drop off. Good luck. I will keep monitoring the chat. Share where you're watching this, and ask any questions, because this is going to be a packed session with a lot of nuggets of wisdom. I can't wait. Good luck, Brian.
Thank you. Rock on, guys. All right, so let's get started. GPTs versus Google CSEs. If you know me, you know that I'm a big fan of the future and what's coming down the pipeline when it comes to all the LLMs that are out there for recruiting. But you also know I've got a foot in the past with the Google CSE, right? So what I want to do today is I want to bring the past together with the future and do an epic mashup. So what are we doing? We're doing that mashup. We're going to talk about who's driving this mashup. You're going to be the driver. Wait for it. We're going to talk a little bit about some Boolean in Google. We're going to talk about Boolean in AI-enabled Google. We're going to talk about the future of CSEs, and then we're going to do a mashup and a remix where I'm going to take your questions. We're going to do a bit of live sourcing because that's what Adrian keeps me around for. So who's driving? I'm Brian Fink. I've been a recruiter for about 20 years. I've led recruiting functions and been hands-on recruiting in organizations like McAfee, like Twitter, like AWS, like Apple. I like to think that my modus operandi is to give back to the community to help us challenge the status quo. All right. So Boolean and Google, quick detour. This is your cheat sheet. If this is your first time tuning into a sourcing webinar where Boolean is mentioned, you may want to take a screenshot of this because we are going to use all of these Google dorks, and that's a term that Steve Rath at Apple taught me, Google dorks, to get what we need out of Google, whether it is Google, whether it is Google with AI, whether it's Gemini, this is what we're going to use. So we come to a fork in the road, is that inside of Google, you can only use 32 words and operators to get the results that you want. But today, we're going to go beyond Thunderdome. We're going to go beyond 32 words. Warning. For those of you who are fans of LinkedIn, this is going to be a webinar where we're going to go deep into LinkedIn using Google. So be prepared and be ready to maybe lessen your utilization of LinkedIn proper and go through some alternative routes. About alternative routes, the rules have changed on how we do search today. There's more information that is coming at us in every single direction, across the globe, across websites, across applications, across LLMs. Before the era of AI, we would do this search, and this is a search that I was doing to find forward deployed engineers that may work at Palantir. I use site command linkedin.com/in to say, hey, Google, I only want to look at people who are in the United States who have a public profile on LinkedIn. This is commonly referred to as X-raying. And then I said, hey, by the way, I want to look for forward deployed engineer, and I put that in quotes, or an FDE, and I put that in parentheses, and I said that I wanted to find people who work for Palantir. Today, we now have a new addition to Google search. We've got the AI summary. And with the AI summary, we also have a bifurcation of the search results, right? Because Google wants to make us happy and it wants to do things quickly. It has this summary that tells us what FDSEs do, right? But it also has some of the profiles that we looked at on the other page when we were using Google without AI. Let's look a little bit closer because there are a few things that I think are important for us to stumble upon as we talk about the transition from just using search, traditional search, and using AI-enabled search. There are two little things that I want to point out to you here. The first one is AI mode, and our arrow is kind of right beneath that on the left-hand side of the screen. Up at the top right-hand side of the screen, in the browser, there's a little star or a gem, as Google likes to refer that. Now, still using this search string that we have to find forward deployed engineers at Palantir, I've now switched into AI mode, and it's given me a full list of individuals, and it's even given me a little bit of summary. It's gone and it specifically scraped 16 profiles to be able to give me that information about those individuals using AI mode. So it's a little bit different. It's kind of nuanced, but let's find out who's the best fit for a Y Combinator backed startup from this list of profiles that it brought us, because maybe we're looking for somebody who, as a Palantir, that would be a good fit at a Y Combinator backed startup. And I'm just doing this in natural language. I'm not doing any funky Boolean. I'm just doing easy peasy. All right, so it tells me why FDEs would be a good fit for a startup. But we got to scroll down a little bit further. And we do, it gives us specific examples of people who meet the qualifications that we're looking for that would be successful in Y Combinator driven startups. But what about Boolean and natural language search, right? How can I contact them at Gmail? All right, this is a mashup, right? I said, how can I contact them, which is natural language search. And then I did at Gmail to say specifically, I wanted to find people's Gmail addresses. Well, what it taught me was real quick that Gmail is got limited availability for these FDEs, and that if I want to connect with them, there are a few different ways to do so. But it also gave me a link to their posts where I could start a conversation and drop in messages directly to them on LinkedIn, right? I said we're going to use LinkedIn today. I kind of been a little nebulous about how we were going to get there, Sorry for the lack of the roadshow, right? Now, one of the other things that it does is that when I hit this gem, the gem in the upper right-hand corner, it activates a search upon the entire screen and the entire set of content. Learn about the page. List FDE roles at Palantir. I don't care about the roles. Task assistant, help me make a decision. A great decision to make is who's the best fit for this Y Combinator startup, or explore a topic and get more perspectives on the topic. But what's important to realize is that down here at the bottom of this pop-up, it's still looking specifically at site:linkedin.com/n, open parentheses, open quotes, forward deployed engineer, close quote, or FDE, close parentheses, Palantir, right? So let's go just a little bit deeper down a rabbit hole. Tell me how I can help you make a decision. Tell me how you can help me make a decision, right? Of the LinkedIn profiles, who is most likely to change jobs? Well, doesn't that defeat the open to work or active filter on LinkedIn Recruiter? I'm just saying, just saying. So about those 32 words, by using natural language search mixed together with AI inside of whether it's Gemini or another search apparatus, we're going beyond those 32 words. So here's a challenge for Gemini. Find me 4 deployed engineers with profile on Instagram and LinkedIn who live in San Francisco, who love cats and dogs and are very nice to be friends with, who also love Vanessa Rath. Then, if you're tuning in, this is for you, because we know that this search string is more than 32 words. If we drop this into regular Google, it breaks, right? It only gives us certain results, right? It does give us Jen Win and friends and from 8 days ago, but it breaks, right? Like the more search terms you put in a string, the more dynamic or more largest that you pack into it, the worse it becomes. Well, it's just the opposite when you're using a GPT, whether it's Chat GPT, Claude, Perplexity, or Gemini. So find me 4 deployed engineers with profiles on Instagram and LinkedIn who live in San Francisco, who like cats and dogs, who love Vanessa Rath. Which brings me to the future of CSEs, because if a CSE is inherently based on Google search technology, what does that mean for us as we kind of go down the rabbit hole of being able to contextually say exactly what we're looking for from a natural language perspective? For those of you who have not used a CSE before, we are going to build one today. It is a service that allows individuals to create their own customized search engines tailored to specific websites or collections of websites based on Google search. And it's free. That's right. I told Adrian, I said, look, man, if I'm going to do this webinar for you, I'm going to show people lots of free ways that they can manipulate Google. So does a CSE still work in the age of AI? Yes. So let's build our own CSE and test this theory. So what you're going to need to get started with is a Gmail address or a work alias using Gmail to register. You can just travel on over to cse.google.com or programmablesearchengine.google.com. I go with cse.google.com because I'm lazy. I don't like to type a lot of words. And for those of you who are lazy, Google search engine, custom search engine is the epitome of laziness because it will give you very precise results with going around paywalls. And I want you to bring up a list of your favorite places that you want to look for talent. For me, it's LinkedIn, GitHub, Behance, Instagram, and TikTok. And that's going to be where we're going today, right? So bring on some faux automation. We're going to get rid of X-ray search by putting X-ray search on steroids. We're going to narrow the search using those dorks. We're going to augment beyond the 32 word limit using synonyms, and we're going to refine your queries. So head on over to programmablesearchengine.google.com and let's get started. So this is what your dashboard is going to look like. Well, maybe not, because these are some CSEs that I've put together for working at doing things for SourceCon. My LinkedIn top 25 is the top 25 CS schools and only brings back engineers from those schools. Talent Acquisition Summit and in South America, different people that I've worked with, building one for Tangi Pettis, who was the SourceCon editor for a while. You get the picture. So what we're going to do is we're going to name our search engine, and then we are going to start loading sites that we want our search engine to specifically look at. Now, if you remember, I said we were going to beat up on LinkedIn today. So linkedin.com/in, we're going to add it. We're going to add GitHub and TikTok and Behance and Instagram. And we are going to then create our search engine. There, we're done. We've finished, right? That was it. I'm glad everybody showed up. That's where you can go to get the finished search engine, or you can scan this QR code and go get that custom search engine. Or you can say, Brian, I am not satisfied. I am not happy. You just showed me just the most rough shot way to build a Google custom search engine to search 5 websites so I don't have to type in site command anymore. Well, since you are not impressed, I am going to give you a little more on the Google custom search engine. I'm going to look for software developers who know Java. I'm putting it in there, and it brings back 1.5 million results across Instagram, GitHub, Stack Overflow, TikTok, and the like. I'm going to look for neonatal nurses or RNs in Virginia. And it brought me back 9 results from LinkedIn and from Instagram. I'm going to look for account managers who know SaaS. And it brought me back account manager SaaS. Now, if you have jumped ahead and you are playing with our search engine as I go along, you're going to notice that there's more there for you to dig into than what I have provided. And that's where we're going to go really deep. So let's customize this. Let's make it where we can be lazy. What we're going to do is we've got our sites here, Instagram, Behance, TikTok, and GitHub. And we are going to restrict results from only the US for this CSE. You can restrict results from all across the world. You can say that I'm only interested in recruiting in the UAE or in Thailand. You can have it go across the entire web. I will let you know that the more specific you get, the better your results will become. So we're saying the United States, we're saying these 5 websites, we're looking at all languages. There's a theme. This is what it's going to look like when we get done. This is the kind of customization part of it. And this is the color that you can choose to make it, if you're so inclined, to make it bubblegum, shiny, espresso, or minimalist. The font we're going to use is Roboto. But all that doesn't matter. That doesn't improve the search. What improves the search is adding refinements, or what I commonly refer to as buttons, that make for a better search. So what's a refinement? A refinement is one of those little buttons, or is a button that appears that concatenates the search criteria that you've entered into Google to bypass that 32-word limitation. So how could we use refinement to find personal email addresses on LinkedIn, GitHub, TikTok, Instagram, and the like? Well, if we were doing traditional Boolean, we would put a string in like this that would say Gmail or Yahoo or at iCloud. And what we're going to do, though, is we're going to drop this into a refinement that we're going to call personal emails. Now, we are going to search within sites that have this refinement, and we are going to make the priority of the sites with this refinement number 1, right? Number 1, the reason we're going to go full tilt is that we want to make sure that there are no false positives. When you've got the priority of sites limited to 7 or below, there are false positives, and we don't want any broken links. Nobody's got time for that. So now we've got the opportunity to rewrite the query words, and that's where we want to scroll down to the advanced section. And in this, we want to put in our search string. We want to put in that Boolean, and we're only going to do it once, okay? Now, this is some Boolean that you could put into a search engine to find a multitude of software engineers who have cloud services, who have Terraform, The third link is for looking for diversity for individuals that have led teams that also identify as being female. The third is looking for resumes online that appear on GitHub embedded as code in Go or Golang. You get my drift. What we've done is with that first search string where we're looking for a software engineer or that has cloud and what have you, we've got about 8.8 million results. We're going to go over and we're going to click on that refinement, personal emails. We now have 234,000 people who have a personal email address, which is either a Gmail, Yahoo, or an iCloud address that is visible and attached to their LinkedIn, GitHub, Stack Overflow, TikTok profile. Why would we use this? Because email continues to be an effective resource over the atypical LinkedIn DM. So let's add a few more refinements. Let's get crazy, right? Let's build this search engine. What should we look for? Let me know in the chat, right? Like I got an idea, but you may spur something that may come up that we may have to play with later, all right? So what should we look for? How about underrepresented groups, right? Who on this call is convinced that diversity creates great friction and great friction creates great organizations, personal growth? Let me get a hell yeah. Let me see some of those hell yes. All right. So we're going to put URG for underrepresented group. We're going to change the priority of this to 1. And then we are going to go in and we're going to drop this Boolean string for the National Society of Black Engineers, otherwise known as NSBE, Black Girls Code, Blacks in Technology, Afrotech, Code 2040 to put more people that are underrepresented populations into the developer workforce, WIT, Women in Technology, right? We drop that into the advanced commands. And now we're going to click on URG. And if you notice, we have individuals that are members of NSBE, individuals, National Society of Black Engineers, National Society of Black Engineers. We got about 1,200 results of individuals that identify, self-report that information across the web. Now, what about female leadership? Because I talked about that in one of the search strings. This is where we bring in natural language search. Anybody can put the pronouns she or her or hers into a search string. But what we want to do is we want to find individuals that identify as being female that have led organizations, right? So we go to that third string that's in the middle, right? She led teams. She builds her team. Let's expand on that a little bit better. She leads, she led, her team built, she grew her under her leadership. So just some common nomenclature of how people describe their work. Female leadership is the refinement. We have 3,500 individuals. She led the entire company-wide AWS move from on-prem to AWS. I think that might be a winner if we're looking for a software engineer that's led cloud migration. What about people who are open to work? Now, one of everybody's favorite features with LinkedIn is finding individuals that are open to work. So how do we do that in a contextual setting using the Google search engine to go beyond the LinkedIn paywall? Natural language search again. I know that Adrian was calling that out, right? Adrian, stick around. I got something special for all of you who are doing business development in just a quick second. So we're going to put in open to work, open to new opportunities, open to work, OTW, looking for my next opportunity, open to corp, C to C. We're going to add that refinement and we're going to call it open to work. Full stack software engineer looking for opportunities. I'm currently seeking employment. I'm currently in the workforce and I solve problems. That's 5 million people that are open to work that we looked at for software engineer. We probably could narrow that down by putting some other terminology into the box. Now, this is the part for all of you who are doing business development, all of you that are working in consulting or anybody who's a recruiter that's looking for their next gig. How do we find the hiring manager, right? How do we find the hiring manager? Natural language search. I'm hiring, I'm looking to hire, I'm building my team. Refinement, is going to be hiring. I'm hiring, looking to build my team. And therein lies our search engine. I am apparently missing a slide. I am sorry about that. I will update that and get that over to the team, but I was going to show that filter about how to find hiring managers. Synonyms. Now, we talked about getting beyond the 32 search terms, right? If I said the word Java, it could mean a cup of coffee. It could mean J2EE. It could mean Java Enterprise Edition. It could mean a lot of different things. How do I continue the streak of being lazy and make sure that when I say Java, that it finds all these other words, minus coffee? Well, we're going to do a query enhancement via synonyms. So what are synonyms for college? Because you don't want to type in master's degree, UI, it's just too much time, right? So our search term is just going to be the word college, okay? Meaning that if I type the word college, it's going to automatically populate all these other synonyms for the word college. So if we're thinking about the term university, state school, graduate school, law school, medical school, and we type in the word college, it's going to auto-populate those words into our search string. Artificial intelligence, university, college, university, and it's still going across those sites, right? What are some synonyms for the word resume? Now, I know that Adrian runs a global organization. In the US, we are hardwired that we are looking for resumes, right? Could we be looking for a CV or a vitae or work experience for somebody who maybe didn't attend college, or maybe who's somebody who's in an apprenticeship? Boom! Now, what about, I gave that example about Java. What about synonyms for NoSQL, for unstructured databases, right? Couchbase, MongoDB, Redis, all varieties of that. So I can just type in NoSQL and the search engine's smart enough to populate with up to 10 synonyms per word, which basically augments our search by 320 search terms. Bam, Redis, MongoDB, Redis. Yeah, like that's what it does from a NoSQL standpoint. And again, there's our search engine. You can go check it out here. You can download it if you have questions. I know I went fast. I got a lot to cover today. So, and I want to make sure that I have time to handle the scandal of all the questions. One thing that we come to is a mashup remix, right? Where do we go from here, right? We've talked about LLMs. We've talked about free, but I want to really get into free. And we haven't talked about the fusion of multiple search engines playing against each other. And then we also haven't had a conversation about agentic search, right? So I want to start with perplexity.ai. Perplexity.ai has been in the news recently because there are allegations that they are going to be purchased, right? So as we talk about those allegations, for the foreseeable future, it's a viable product. And what I have the $20 a month account. This is the only thing I'm showing you that's not free. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, find me email addresses of the employees of the Weather Channel. And what this does is it will show me publicly available email addresses of Weather Channel employees. If you think about it, this is a really unique way to go around some of the lookups. But what if I told you that it was using the lookups like Signal Hire or Rocket Reach or Contact Out, so you didn't have to pay for them? So it shows me the 10 sources: Rocket Reach, Zoom Info, Lead IQ, Contact Out, Signal Hire, Perspectia, I've never heard of, and LinkedIn, we all know, right? Bingo. We've got publicly available information of work email addresses. But then you say, hey, I'm Aaron Lentz. I like to scrape everything. Aaron, if you're watching, shout out to you. Aaron is a master at scraping websites. I'm just going to tell Perplexity to put the results in a CSV, and we're going to be able to export it and have a list of 16 people who work at the Weather Channel and their email addresses. All right, let's jump over to Chatbot Arena, otherwise known as lmarena.ai. This is where you can have a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Some people may remember G versus B, which was Google versus Bing back in the day. And Google versus Bing was getting search results from Bing and Google and seeing how they worked. This pits two LLMs against each other in an epic battle to find out which LLM is really better. So what we're going to do is I'm going to say, show me the money in recruiting. What is the most profitable sector to recruiter for? Oh, wow, I really should have spell checked this. To do, and what you think of Benjamin Mina. Hey, Ben. Benjamin's got a conference coming up that you should all attend on recruiting in AI. Shout out to Benjamin. And his ability to recruit cleared top cleared professionals. All right, let's run the search. Show me the money in recruiting, assistant A and assistant B. Now, you vote as to which one is better, which one is bad, or if it's a tie. And what it'll do if you just enter into it in the beginning is it will systematically select two GPTs at random. So on the left, we had Llama, and on the right, we had the paid version of Claude. So I know what you're thinking. You're like, hey, Brian, are you going to show me how to go beyond another paywall and use another GPT that I may have to pay for using Chatbot Arena? Well, if that's what you were thinking, you are correct. So battle. Up at the top, you can choose to battle two anonymous models side by side, or you can compare two models of your choice. So what model shall we choose? Who are the best Go developers in San Francisco, California, USA? I chose to do a side-by-side comparison of Grok, which is $40 a month, and Claude Sonnet, which is $20 a month. Let's check this out. Okay, so Grok is giving me names and where to find people, and Claude is just telling me where to find people. Just to show this when this first name popped up, Grok was still processing, and Claude had already given up the search. Or I'm sorry, given up, not the right terminology. They had already reached the conclusion of their search. And as we continue to go through Grok, Grok gives us additional candidates, Matt Holt, Kelsey Highwater, Francet Kempoy, whereas Claude just tells me to go to local Go user groups or post on job boards. I think we can agree, left is better, winner is Grok, all right? We still want to keep doing stuff for free, right? All right. So there's a website, it's called u.com, and u.com gives you 3 of these free searches each day, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 3 free premium queries, remain for the day, limit refreshes daily, right? So this is the free version. I could go pro for $15 a month, but I'm not doing that. What I'm going to do is I am going to, you can let it pick which search engine it uses on its own, or you can go to custom and you can choose from 20 plus models, which include everything from all the Claudes, all the Groks, Alibaba, DeepSeek, Gemini. Let's use some Alibaba action here, because I don't think Alibaba gets any love. I think we're all Chat GPT, right? Who are the best Go developers in San Francisco, California, USA? This is the answer that it gave me, but it also gave me lists of places that I could go for the top 10 Go engineers, right? And it also gave me information about companies that I might want to hire out of. So really promising in terms of that research. You know who doesn't get enough credit and they get beat up a lot? Facebook, Meta, Llama. Let's change it and ask the same question about Go developers in San Francisco using Llama. It gives me a different set of results based on the same query. So it's given me the research to go a little bit further, a little bit deeper. Now about agentic, I'm gonna be honest with you. I am still playing with this arena. I don't have anything to add to it other than I've played with it in Perplexity to create some if-then statements, and I'm not ready for prime time. I know what you're thinking. We went awfully fast. We went through a lot of stuff. How can I have one more thing for you, especially when it wasn't on the agenda? Well, I want to show you NotebookLM. I was talking to Adrian, I was talking to Andrew beforehand, and they weren't using this. And what I want to do, again, as I'm kind of going down the Google rabbit hole, is I want to welcome you to NotebookLM. NotebookLM, it's a free service. I know it says Pro up at the top. It's because I have Gemini Pro as well. But notebooklm.google.com. What I've done here is I've created different notebooks. And if I jump into a notebook, I'm able to add sources. I'm able to find additional information. This is actually a small language model. So what I can do is I can put very specific information from my Google Drive, from the web, copied and pasted text, um, into a notebook. And it will synthesize outcomes for me based on that information. Now, this is all private. This is not part of the slurm that is with most of the GPTs. What we can do here, if you will, is that we can also use it in the top right-hand corner to discover sources. So we don't have to do any of this down at the bottom where we upload our own documents. We can use Google search. Find me profiles of CHROs who have undertaken global transformations. It goes out and using the power of Google search, it finds me articles, web pages, websites, company manifests, PDFs, all of this about CHROs who have done what we just talked about, right? Covering various aspects of their evolving role. Now it says 10 sources selected. You can add as many sources as you want or as few sources as you want, okay? So we're gonna import those. What it does on the left is it shows everything that I've imported, where it's come from. It gives me a chat in the middle where I can query against, or on the right, it gives me a studio to play with. We're gonna play with the studio a little bit, right? Question that I put in was how do leading CHROs strategically transform workplaces to enhance employee well-being, right? Because maybe we're doing a search where we're looking for an organization that's gotten beaten up on their core values, and we want to figure out how they can raise the bar for culture. Now, like I said, in the studio, you got a few different options that you can do. You can create a study guide, a briefing doc, a timeline, frequently asked questions, or you can even generate your own podcast on this, okay? We're going to go through all 5 of these elements really quickly. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm doing a briefing doc, is that I want it to give me a briefing understanding of what a CHRO does, how they do their job, why they do their job. You could be using this for Go developers. You could be using this for accountants. This is really putting that asset, that resource in your hand. This tells me how the roles evolved, how things have changed. This tells me about the well-being and transformation which we had in our previous conversation, and that's in the studio. Now, frequently asked questions. What are the expectations of CHRO? Does this even jive with the job description? What about a study guide? What should I know that I need to ask a CHRO about being a CHRO, right? How do I understand how they've moved beyond the tactile to the strategic? What's been their timeline? How's this role evolved, right? Like, am I talking to somebody who's a new people ops leader? It really gets into the nitty gritty. But what about audio? So what you can do is you can take all those sources, you can upload them, and you can say, make me a podcast that will teach me about that specific topic. And if you want to, if you're bored and you got 13 minutes and you want to listen on how to be a great CHRO or how to find great CHROs, click on this link or click on this page. It's publicly available in this notebook, and you can go in and you can find out all you want. Well, 13 minutes of all you want about CHROs that you never knows. What I'd like to conjecture is that for those of you who are solopreneurs, what are you doing to make this your CRM or your ATS? So I want to take the idea of looking for a resume that's a PDF of a Java engineer or an application engineer architect that knows Java, And I don't want to see samples. I don't want to see examples. I don't want to see jobs. I don't want to see templates. And I'm going to load that into Google, right? Great. I've got some resumes. That's awesome. Fantastic. I can download those resumes one by one, right? And there are two ways to do this. Is I can download them one by one and then upload them into NotebookLM, or I can port them all into my Google Drive and connect my Google Drive as my source of truth, acting as your CRM. So then you can query against those resumes looking for who's the best fit based on the job description. You can access this ATS that I built for you here. And again, it's free. If you wanted to, you could just drop that search string into Discover and have it populate for you. Find me resumes similar to the PDFs already listed as a source for this notebook. So go out to the web and find me other people that could be a good fit for this role. Cover letter, chronological. This is not all what we're looking for, but you get the idea. Or find me YouTube videos that explain the jargon in these resumes. Resume buzzwords, resumes you should avoid at all costs. I can import all this information, and therefore it makes me smarter at what I do. I'm Brian Fink. I've had fun. We've rocked and rolled this for about 45 minutes. I know some heads have exploded. There's a lot to take in here. I know I went quick. I mean, hell, I had like 151 slides to get through to cover this big, momentous topic for you and your teams. I'm really glad that I could be a part of the conversation today. And now what I'd like to do is I'd like to lift and shift and see what kind of questions we have and see what kind of answers we can get into. How's that sound to you, Andrew?
Brian, wow. Wow. As always, wow. Like I'm already thinking what I'm going to send to my employees. Thank you so much, Brian. This is epic. So a couple of questions that came up in the chat. Someone asked, what about...
Look at all these people. Wow, look at all these people. When Adrian puts a party together, he puts, okay, so real quick, Adrian, I see some comments from YouTube. I see Jill Ramp showed up. I saw Steve Jules showed up. Yep. I see Shiva showed up. This is awesome. Thank you for making me feel like I'm a part of this recruiting community. So real quick, frat parties. Steve, frat parties in the house, all right? All right, don't tell my wife I popped my collar for you. All right, so here's what we're at. We've got questions about how about a refinement for mobile numbers. Yeah, we can do a refinement for mobile numbers. The way that I do a mobile number lookup is parentheses 404 or 229 or 770 or 678, close parentheses, put the word mobile, and I jam on that to bring me back mobile phone numbers of individuals that live in the Atlanta metro area. Okay. Let's go back. Okay, happy to be here. We got Jill. Props to Andrew, Mr. Fenton, Steve. Awesome. Greetings from. I love Belgium. I love Bruges. I'm biased to Bruges. I may have fallen out of a boat there after having some lovely tapas ale back when I threw down the bottle. We talked about H1s, about refinement for mobile numbers, so we understand how to do that. We're going to do it by area code to do the search and lookup. We've got Jill, URG and Feel My Leadership. Does it also include personal emails? Jill, let's put those together and put all the terminology that we have for female leadership, and then put a parentheses around that, and then put a parentheses around our link for, our Boolean search string for personal email addresses. Wrap that together and say personal email addresses for female leaders and build it that way, right? So we can do that. Now, who is that asking about Nakuri and Monster? I don't know anything about Nakuri or Monster. I know that Monster filed bankruptcy. That's it. DRP, great work. Thank you. I appreciate that. Jill, awesome sauce. One problem with area code is people take their mobile numbers when they move away. You are absolutely correct, Steve. You are absolutely correct, right? I used to use the word Skype to find things before they shut Skype down, right? How about this? How about this? Mobile and WhatsApp. Why don't we put a filter and we go, hold on. Yeah, son. All right, Adrian, I'm going back out to the web. Give me one second.
Let's do it.
Let me go back out to the web. Stop screen share, present, screen share. I'm going to go to this Chrome tab, which is my family get together meeting, so to speak. I'm going to go LinkedIn.com. And I'm going to put the word mobile or WhatsApp in there. And I'm going to put Greater New York. So we know that I haven't done this search before. Greater New York City area or Alabama, just because I like to pick on Alabama. And then I'm going to say that I'm looking for a developer. I'm just going to put developer. Okay, I got less than 32 words. I've got mobile. I got WhatsApp. I have Greater New York City area or Alabama developer. And I'm looking on LinkedIn and voila, I have somebody from Mobile, Alabama. Oh, wait, I'm getting rid of Alabama. That's bringing back Mobile, Alabama. I'm just going to do Greater New York City area. I've got a mobile number. I've got somebody who works for WhatsApp. I'm going to put the word number, and I'm going to put the hashtag sign right here. This is what you came for. This is what you came for. This is what you came for. Ooh. No, that's not what I wanted. How about this? How about we put quotation marks +1? Yeah, there we go. Double up, double up. All right, fantastic. There we go. We've got people who I'm going to go into Sarah Cunningham. Sarah, I apologize in perpetuity. But we were looking for somebody who has a WhatsApp number that begins with +1. Oh, shit. All right. So I'm stumped. I gotta figure this out and come back on the big show. I gotta figure this out.
Brian, your enthusiasm in doing this live is worth everything. Like that.
You know who else has enthusiasm for doing this live that is really good that you got to get is Aaron Matthew. You got to get Aaron.
Yeah. Aaron is great.
Okay.
Aaron is
All
great.
right.
Yeah, Aaron
So,
is great.
Steve Jewell, how much time have I invested building lazy tools? Steve? All right. Steve, do you want a goodie? Do you want a real goodie? You want a special deluxe goodie? All right. Let me share screen again real quick.
All right. Oh, I'll jump off.
No worries. Okay. This is my Mac Daddy LinkedIn search engine. Okay. So, Steve, I've been working on this search engine for the better part of 11 years. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in that I'm looking for restaurant managers in Cleveland, Ohio. Look at all those lovely facets, right? Candidate interest, who's currently looking to make a move, who's got their personal email address, who's an active job seeker, what are their responsibilities. Steve, anybody who's listening live, DM me and I will send you this as my special. We are having an epic summer gift because Adrian put this together. Is that cool? Cool. All right. Awesome. I could also do Cleveland Rocks. That's awesome. Aaron Rocks, hit me. All right. So there we go. That's how I'm using that complex search engine. And then, especially some people have their own personal websites or use portfolio sites. Yes, you could do that. You could type in site:/wordpress.com, and you could pull up all the .org and pull up all the people who have WordPress sites, or you could put in URL wordpress.com and bring up all the people who have WordPress sites. You could do that. You could do any number of things. Any number of things. All right. I've had a blast. I always have a blast when I party with Adrian.
So good. So good. Hey, Brian, in terms, this is, let me be a little bit devil's advocate, right? This looks all fancy and cool, and another tool that we can use, that we can find people with. But how many of the profiles that actually pop up are relevant profiles?
It's a good question. So I think that you're going to get the most relevant profiles to the CSE. Adrian, you know this, is that I make the majority of hires that I make through Instagram. Is that I find people who are posting that they have a bio in Instagram that says, I'm a developer at Meta, or I'm a developer this, or they give their bio, right? And what I do is I find their email address, but I also get their Instagram profile. So I can send them an email and I can send them a DM, right? And I do that from the desktop. And if you do that from the desktop, you can profile who you want to talk to, when you want to talk to them, and make that momentous and make that move the needle. So, I mean, probably 25% of the developers and AI engineers that I'm playing with, I'm doing the CSE and I'm really going deep on Instagram. My second source is going to be GitHub, and my third source is going to be LinkedIn. So that's how I'm hitting that thing.
So you're sending people over Instagram a DM, and that's your
you can send
first point
25.
of
You can
contact?
send 25. You can send 25 unsolicited DMs to a day to individuals that you're not connected with.
Yeah, yeah. So,
I mean,
but then still, right, Brian? But then still, because what I often find is that we're able to find these profiles on Instagram, but they're often false positives, that they do not have the right level of experience. That, yes, they have some words in their bio that makes them pop up, and therefore you have to shift through so many different profiles that it almost feels that you're better off starting on LinkedIn, and then when LinkedIn gets exhausted, you go to the other channels. So I would love to hear.
All right. So what if we did this? What if we get real naughty?
Yeah.
All right. What if we type in site command? I'm going to type it first. Instagram, or wait a minute. Okay, you stay on the screen. I'm just going to share. We're all going to be here. We're all going to have fun. What if we do what you said and we go site command Instagram.com, and we put as the search term LinkedIn.com/in. And then we say that we're looking for somebody with a Gmail address that's exposed, who is a software developer, AWS. Oh, well, hey, dude. There's Denise. Graduation. I've worked as a back-end software developer. Looking for work. This is the information about them. We've got their Gmail address. We've got their LinkedIn profile. Now I got 3 ways to hit them. I got 4 ways to hit them. I got a phone number too.
But let's say you need 6 years of experience.
Oh, okay. All right. That's a good call out. It's a good call out, right? So I could see, then I would go GitHub. I would go GitHub.com, site command, GitHub.com, ML engineer, Georgia Tech. And you said that I need 6 years of experience, right? So I'm going to now invoke the dots. and I'm going to say that they graduated Georgia Tech in 2005 to 2020. Oh wait, Georgia Institute of Technology. Oh, I misspelled institute. You just let me spell whatever I want here today. I'm going to get rid of Gmail and see if I can get. Okay, there we go. I've got the one. And I've got their projects, and I had their resume, and they've only got one follower, but I've got their contact information now. Assisted my friends in his company to read me. This is good stuff, right? We got ways to hunt.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go one step. I'm gonna go back one step, and I'm gonna get rid of ML engineer, and I'm just gonna say Georgia Institute of Technology, and the dots concatenate all the numbers between 2005 and 2020. I'm not a robot. That's Google checking on things. There's Jack Dolan. There's his resume. I could have put in Boston. There's his email. There's his phone number. That's a free resume. Georgia Tech, 4.0, Bachelor of Science in Engineering. He's got the 6 years of experience you're looking for. Are you entertained?
So entertained. Always.
Awesome. All right. Well, then I'm just going to tell you that I appreciate you. I appreciate everything you do for the global recruiting, sourcing, and hiring community. Adrian, I want you to have a great day. Thanks for making me part of it. Let's speak soon.
Brian, thank you.
Hey, give it up for Andrew. Give it up for Andrew, guys. Come
much.
on. Andrew made this happen.
Exactly. Andrew is the one that creates the magic.
Thank
Here.
you.
Boom. There he is. Andrew.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you so
Awesome.
much. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Yes.
Y'all have a great day.
Thank you for kind words, Brian.
Thank you for doing this, my man. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Ciao, Brian.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So this was a full hour with Brian. On July 24th, we're gonna have, and I'm hopefully pronouncing his name somewhat correct, Suaib Hasturk, who will share really practical user examples on how we can use AI in our day-to-day job, and especially around bias, inclusivity, and how to avoid bias. So stay tuned for next webinar series. If you are not following us yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel, connect with us on LinkedIn, connect with me on LinkedIn. My name is Adrian Kolf, and I want to thank you so much for spending the hour with us. See ya next time.